Hello, my name's Colette. This is a video of the Practical Magic series and is Fertility Magick. Now, before we start on Fertility Magick, I will be giving you a bit of background on how to optimise your periods or moons and explaining how that can be done. I'll also then be giving you the flow of an intent, if you want to call it a spell or intent or act of prayer, then that's what you call it. I tend to call them intents. So we'll do that too and explain that to you. First, let me say what this will not do. It will not bring a baby forth. It won't bring a conception if in this life there is no soul meant to come down and be part of your life as a child. So it won't help that. It's not a miracle. It won't help if infertility is final. It won't help postmenopausal women have babies. It's for women who maybe are trying and not being successful, that things just aren't working and there's not huge problems, which obviously, you need to involve a doctor, consultant in. Always take action on the medical side, always. And this can help on top. I see it from both sides. I have the shamanic aspect of using the magic, but I'm also have a pharmacy background, so I see the need for both the medicinal, the clinical, and the traditional magic. So bear that in mind, please, because otherwise I would not be prepared to pass on this knowledge. But if you maybe have been told by a doctor, well, we'll check you in a year, then just go on with this now and give it a chance. Or if you're going through things with the doctor, then use this alongside it. If the treatment relies on the women aspect and ovulation, this does not help the male aspect. It's mainly for the female. So that's the kind of wee codicils of what you need to know and how this doesn't work in certain situations. So, fertility magic. Let me roll back to tribal societies and long gone times. I don't know if you've noticed that when you're working with a lot of females, you all come on your periods at one time. After a while, you all sort of coalesce, and if you're not on pills or contraception, then there tends to be, maybe 80% all on their periods at one time. That's a natural thing. Now, in years gone by, ancient times, certain tribal societies still that all live together, there was a thing called the Moon Lodge. Now, what happened was that women come on their moon at the same time, and that was the new moon in the sky or the darkened moon. So you wouldn't be able to see it, but it's there. So if you think that period equates with new moon or dark of the moon, okay? And then a lot of tribal societies and people refer to their periods as their moons, which I always thought was nicer than some of the, we've got the painters in, or, we've got the curse. It's not a curse, it gives us our babies, So I like saying the moon, but our moons correspond with the new moon. So what would happen is that the women that were coming on their moons would go into the Moon Lodge at the new moon, and for 4 or 5 days they would bleed, they would comfort one another, they would chat, they would do things like, braid hair, burn a sacred smoke, relax, cry, do whatever they needed to release. And at that time, the younger pre-moon women and the menopause women would take over the jobs that the women who were having their moon would do. And the men left them alone because in many tribal societies, there's this sort of thing that came that the period or the moon was dirty. It didn't start off like that. That was a kind of patriarchal thing that was out with more religions that were trying to put women down. But the flow of the blood was actually seen as very magical. So the men were quite content to not be anywhere near women at this magical time. Whether you agree with that or not, that's just the way it was. And it is an incredible magical time. But let's go back to how this story goes on with fertility. So most of the women were having their moon at the new moon. And then after 4 or 5 days, they would go back to normal life, feeling good because they'd rested, they'd had female time. And if things went according to plan, they would naturally ovulate at the full moon. And then they would either conceive and go on to be pregnant, or the cycle would go back to the new moon and they would shed their blood again. And that's just the way it was. So new moon, dark of the moon, is the bleed time. The full moon is ovulation. Now, because of contraception, etc., and all sorts of things, we can be way in different sort of sync to that in any way. But the optimum is that. Now, I say the optimum, don't panic about it, but if you could get a moon calendar for your computer or your phone, right? And then when you come on your moon or your period, that's day 1. And look at where that is and what moon phase is in. And if it matches up, the closer to the new moon it is, then you're hitting a very optimized fertility phase. Don't worry too much. For 2 of my pregnancies, I was actually on my moon at ovulation time, at the full moon, and it didn't stop me in any way. But this is about the basics. This is about trying to do things that will maximize and optimize. Now, if you're completely, away from the new moon when you come on your period, don't worry about that, because when I suggest crystals and stuff for you, it will tend to pull your moon time towards the new moon. So that means you could be late a wee bit or you could be early a wee bit. But what I tend to do when I'm doing this for people is to try and take over maybe 4-6 months, and we do tend to see a movement. Sometimes it's quite extreme and it changes, in 2 cycles. Other times it doesn't move that much. But remember, if you are bleeding at the time that is traditionally ovulation, you can still fall pregnant. It's just what we're trying to do today is optimize everything. So that's the traditional tribal womanly flow of your moon. So if you're in that sort of cycle, you can look at the full moon and know that you're ovulating. The full moon has this powerful pull. Years and years ago, we didn't know that the sun was necessary to stop people being depressed or whatever and to help with SAD. And then that was all backed up. But there's a lot more evidence to show that the moon does have an effect on ovulation. It's not entirely out there, but in years to come it will be, I've no doubt about that. But if you think of it, we're built a lot of water, and the moon, controls the tides. So obviously it's going to affect the flow of stuff in our bodies, particularly fluid, which moon flow is. So if you can get your head around that, then that's you starting to understand where I'm coming from. Okay, so don't worry if you're not optimized, because in doing the ritual and carrying the crystals, it tends to pull you one way or the other. And even if it doesn't, that doesn't mean that we're not giving the intent up to the universe. And if there's wee souls up there that are meant to be coming to you, it'll certainly encourage them to come down. This actually is a fertility ritual I'm going to show you. The other thing it doesn't do is guarantee a full-term pregnancy. You still have the same risk of miscarriage that any other woman has that has not done this or whatever. Okay, so let's see my wee notes. Right, the 2 crystals I would like you to get and put in a wee pouch are a lovely tumblestone called Moonstone and a tumblestone called Bloodstone. They're the 2 I work with all the time. The Moonstone gathers the energy of the moon and keeps it for the month. So if you actually have that Moonstone on your window ledge at a new moon, it kind of soaks in that energy and then keeps it. And if you carry it next to you, you're getting a double whammy of moon energy. I know it sounds a wee bit kind of mad, but these things do work and they are very, very helpful. Okay, so moon crystal, Moonstone, Bloodstone, I use a lot in it of intents, simply because it optimizes the blood flow through the organs and it keeps our blood flow healthy. The reason I add that one is just to give an extra wee boost to the sort of system in the womb itself. So that's the 2 crystals that I would use. There's other things you can do, there's other crystals to add, but if I just to suggest, well, if I had to say the 2 that I would say had to be in a wee pouch, that would be it. And remember to have them sitting on the window or outside at a full moon, charge them up all the time, and then get them back on you. Now, I'm going to link 2 of my other videos down below. Before we go into the full ritual, which really is better done with guidance, but from your heart, I want you to maybe look at these videos. They're on my own channel. One is an introduction to practical magic, and it's important because that's going to guide you on the flow of what you need, the visualization, the sense of intent and focus and the will. That's the first one you need to look at. It's not that long, but it will give you the way that you have to go into this. I'm not going through all that in this one when that full video has been out there for a wee while. And then after you've seen that one, I want you to look at Practical Magic, one called The Laws of Attraction versus Vulnerability, and the yearning. Now, the reason for that is that with most magic, you're using willpower to send the intent to the universe or to your goddess or to whatever or whoever, or the fates, whatever you want to call it. So that works a lot, but I find that where fertility is concerned, that instead of using will, using female yearning can be far more powerful. If you're visualizing having a child and having that baby in your arm and you're doing the sort of intent and the flow forward, and then you're pushing it with will, sometimes you don't have the strength because you can get quite upset. You're wanting this to happen, you're really wanting this to go, and the strength of willpower just might not be behind it. If it is for you, then use will. However, I find that using yearning, as described in the video about laws of attraction versus yearning, is a good way of doing it. So please look at those 2 videos, and then basically it's down to you. You're basically going to visualize what you want, which is a healthy child. You're basically going to follow the aspect of writing that intent down or getting your crystals in your bag and visualizing that intent going into the pouch. You can add little things to that pouch as well, things that would connect you with the baby. You could maybe decide to put some ribbons in, a blue one and a pink one. This won't give you the sex of child or whatever. It just, put in a ribbon, or, if you've got a sense of a little rattle, or just think what you would perceive as a baby coming to you, and be drawn by your intuition to put whatever you feel into the pouch, because it's about, you could go on and find so many written intents or spells for fertility, but the universe likes our own personal gestures. If you're doing to a goddess, then she'll appreciate your own personal gestures. So make sure that if you feel that you want to put something in, put it in. You could find out later that that is a fertility symbol that you've just put in. I sometimes, when I was making up little pouches, would put a little yoni shell in, which looks like a specific part of the female body, with the crystals, and maybe a little flower or a little, sprouting seeds. Putting seeds in can work quite well as well. But put your energy either into the pouch or writing, say if you do ribbon magic, writing on a ribbon. But you've got to be quite clear that you're doing this to optimize your chance of having a baby, okay? And I tend to add healthy baby, the sense of please give me a healthy baby. If you're meant to be having a child that maybe has a disability, maybe hearing or something wrong with their eyes or whatever, you're still going to get that child, because that's the child that you're meant to have. But I still like to ask for the sense of a healthy baby. So once you've done your little pouch or your ribbon or whatever you're going to do, if you feel that you're strong enough to will it, then by all means. But if you've been trying a wee while and things aren't happening, and you know that nothing's really that wrong, but it's just not happening, or you're trying to get your ovulation optimized, etc., then let your heart yearn. Let your heart be like, please, 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 I want to be a mum. I want to have this baby. Say, Spirit, if in this life I'm meant to be a mum, let that focus be now. Things like that, just yearn and say the words from your heart, and that should be fine. So if you can do willpower, fair enough, but I do think that these certain things work better if you're doing it with yearning. On a few occasions where I've been asked to do the rituals myself, I've actually said to either the woman or and grandmothers ask for it quite a lot. I'll say, right, I'll show you what to do, but then you go and do it, because my yearning for you to have a baby or be a grandmother is not as strong as your yearning. So, I can give you the perfect setup, but ultimately it's the yearning or the will that's going to take it forward. So it's better done by the person themselves, or if the person themselves, I've actually know of 3 women that got together and put out an energy and for one of the girls, and she fell pregnant with this. So, if you want your friends involved, if you want a sense of, focus on you, a bit of help, then, ask your girlfriends and get them involved in this, okay? Just make sure it's for you and they don't fall pregnant too. So there we go. Let me just very look at my notes. Yep. So once the intent is given up, and again, I like to do this kind of at the new moon, just coming off the new moon, when there's a sense of the moon flow is dissipating, because then that's a build up to the full moon, which is ovulation. If it all falls into place with the new moon and the period or moon and the ovulation and conception, that's great. But otherwise, you can do it at the timing of your just coming off your period or your moon, or if you've very, very irregular cycles and you don't even know where you are, do it at the new moon, which you'll find in any moon calendar, okay? I think, yeah, take the little pouch or whatever you put in and carry it with you for the month. Not redo it again the following month if it hasn't worked. Keep empowering the pouch, keep doing this, keep giving the energy up and keep asking and keep yearning, and fingers crossed you will optimize what you need for a pregnancy. And I wish you well with it. If you've any questions, if anything you don't understand in this, put them in the comments box underneath and I'll try and get back to you. As I say, most people that are watching this video are watching it because they are not falling pregnant. It's specifically for you. Other people will say, well, why would you do that? Just go to the doctors. Yeah, go to the doctors, get all the stuff that you need clinically. I'm not saying don't do that, but please be prepared to, well, when people come and I look at their cards and I see there's a problem with fertility with the female, and I see they're going to go and see the doctor and they're maybe going to get a wee tablet that will boost their ovulation, and I see a wee bit of magic would help as well. What I say is, why don't we throw everything at it? I've yearned for babies and I've had my babies. I know that yearning, and I think let's throw everything at it. Let's get all the help you can from consultants and doctors if that's what you need, and then throw all the magic at it as well, because there's no harm in it. Do you see what I mean? If you're not meant to be having a baby this life, this will not work. But if there's just things not connecting and the timing's not right between you and him and this, that and the next thing, there's all sorts of things in this modern world that put barriers in the way. So the two of you, look after your fertility health. But I find the more that women know the natural pattern of fertility, the more they tend to work with it, the more they understand it, and the more their bodies are optimized for that thing that they want, which is a child in their life. So if you like the video, give me a thumbs up. If you don't like it, don't bother with a thumbs down because can't be bothered with them. And if you have any further questions, put them in the comments box, and we'll take it from there. This, I hope, helps you. And I know quite a lot of people that have worked magically and have their babies, and I hope the same for you. So get started. Let's see where the first day of your moon is compared to the new moon. Track it. Use the crystals. Do the intent. And fingers crossed. I hope magic works for you. Many blessings now. Bye.